Hi there, it's Megan Aller, Sales Executive with First American Title in Denver, Colorado, giving you your market recap for January of 2019. Now, as you know, our market typically begins directly following the last game played by the Denver Broncos, and we've been tracking this number for the last 10 years in a row. This graph behind me shows the last 5 years of our market cycle and when the market starts to pick up. This shows number of contracts that are written day by day, and the corresponding arrow goes along with the color-coded line to show you when that last game was played by the Denver Broncos. Now, since we're such a football-loving city, it tends to be that the weekend directly following the last game played by the Denver Broncos, we have between a 30 to a 40% uptick in the number of contracts that are written. So what does that mean? It means the market is here and it starts all over again. It's been really encouraging to see some of the numbers coming in for January 2019, shaping up what our year is going to look like and if we're going to hit that compression cycle again. Please keep in mind that at the end of December, we ended up having almost 1,000 units expire in the detached single-family market, which brought that inventory that we had been seeing creep up on us through the end of 2018 back down to near record levels. January of 2018 reported around 3,500 active units for sale. The lowest record that number was set out was back in January 2017, where we had 3,400 active units for sale. So we're right back into the thick of it, going into a compression cycle again. Not only did our inventory drop off by 20% month over month, what ended up happening was our under contract unit count went up, and we're actually up 11.1% over where we were 1 year ago. So what happens when supply drops and demand goes up? Prices start to skyrocket. Now, it's too soon to see that uptick in prices at this point because we're still closing out those units that went under contract at the end of 2018. Now, our average prices typically come in flat between December and January. We were down just about half of a percentage point. Our average sales price came in at $493. We were down about $2,000 for the median sales price at $423,000 for a detached single-family home here in Metro Denver. Close to list price ratios also continue to drop. Again, it's too soon to see the uptick in activity because we're still closing out those units that happened at the end of 2018. And so we ended up having, it was down to 97.6% of their last asking price. Now, that is going to be one of the lowest numbers that you see, and it's unlikely that you'll see those numbers that low again with as much negotiating power for buyers probably until the end of 2019 if we have a similar market cycle in 2019 as what we've seen for the last 6 years in a row. Also, flash sales only came in at about 25%. So it was 26.9% of the units were under contract in 7 days or less. Okay, so again, a little bit slower reporting out those numbers for the end of 2018, but again, 2019 is really off to a good running start, up 11.1% in the number of contracts that were written. Now, when we look at market conditions, what I want to zoom in on is that last 6 years of market activity. Again, we have that really nice cyclical pattern that's coming in our market, and so that means that we have reasonable data to project what's going to happen in 2019. Again, we're shaping up for more of the same, going into that compression cycle where supply comes down, demand comes up because buyers are starting their hunt for homes early in 2019. So that means that our prices are going to start to go up in the next couple of months. Active inventory, yes, while it is up 17.2%, again, under contracts are up by 11.1%. So if demand and supply go up at the same time, again, prices still continue to rise when we're looking at those two numbers, okay? Now, our attached single-family market is a little bit different than the detached markets because with the resolution to builder defect laws about 18 to 24 months ago, that means that we have more new units that are now coming to market that are giving us an infusion of additional inventory in Metro Denver. So our active inventory was up 31.5%, and our under contract count was only up by 5.4% year over year. So again, that's a really welcome adjustment to what's been happening in our attached market over the last 7 years, having that additional inventory in our market. So what that means over time is that we'll have slowed rates of appreciation. Appreciation rates are still anticipated to be very high. When we look at the detached market, we're looking at somewhere between 5 to 7% by the time that things are said and done and we peak out in those summer months in 2019. As of right now, looking at the numbers that came in for January of 2019, we were dead on pace with where we thought we were going to be in terms of those prices. Again, the blue bar, the dark blue bar in the graph behind me represents the projection. Light blue represents where we actually came in at. So as we start to close out those units that are going under contract right now, we'll start to see the result of some of those bidding wars that are already prominent in our Metro Denver marketplace. Attached units are going to be a little bit more funky as those new units start coming to market. We'll see a little bit more of a bobble that happens in our marketplace. Again, prices, we expect those to tap out and be at their peak by the time that we get into April or May. So stay tuned. Next week we'll talk about strategy sells and how to set yourself up for putting properties under contract and listing properties at the exact strategic time that will most benefit your side of the transaction. Again, we so appreciate you tuning in. I hope that if we're able to help you get more buyers and sellers under contract, that we'll get to see those folks at our closing tables. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.